because I bought god-awful beer, and my punishment from Addie is that it's my job to consume it now.
Oh. So you obviously didn't know it was until after you tried it.
Yeah, it was new. It is the morning nightcap from Arcadia Ales. Coffee porter. It's trash, though. Don't do it.
Coffee porter. That's the type of thing that always sounds delicious until I remember that I hate beer.
Coffee porter is a thing of glory. I am drinking one of my top 5 favorite beers of all time this evening, so I'm quite pleased about that.
Which is?
There's nothing wrong with coffee porters. Let's be very clear about that.
Oh, coffee porters are beautiful. But this is a golden ale from a brewery in Baltimore called Brewer's Art, which I love. And it used to be called Ozzy, but then Ozzy Osbourne actually sued them.
Wow.
Because he owns the name Ozzy.
Yeah, well, also they had to change their logo. So now it is called Beasley. And I'm having a Beasley, and it is beautiful.
Nice.
That's fun. Wait, what type of beer was it?
It's a golden ale.
Ale.
It's pretty potent. Nice.
I've got Eagle Rare myself.
There's a tiny bourbon waiting for me when the beer is done.
A tiny bourbon?
A tiny,
like the bottle's this big?
A wee bourbon.
Wee bourbon.
It's actually a bourbon cocktail. Because I discovered that when I have a sweet tooth, there is a bourbon cocktail that I like to make, which is sort of like a chocolate Manhattan, but it's basically it's a Aztec chocolate bitters bourbon and cream de cacao and a little amaretto. And
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, that sounds very good.
It is happy pants. It is all happy pants. Okay.
I like that. I do an apricot Manhattan when I'm feeling really sassy, and it's very strong because I still use the rye along with the apricot brandy.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm trying a new bourbon. It's not bad. I forget what it's called, which makes this a great story.
Did you find $20 at the end of it?
No.
$20.
I went snooping around the bourbon racks at the nice place and discovered this bourbon that I'd have to get up to look and see what it is. That's a couple dollars cheaper than the Bullet I was going to get. And so I looked it up, and it got really high ratings on some websites and, fair to middling ones on others. And I was like, yeah, for the price point, I might as well try it. And if I don't care for it as much, then I can always put it in Manhattans and it'll be fine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You usually can mix anything that doesn't work on its own.
Yeah, and it's not bad. It's better than a Jim Beam.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I don't know if
Ryan,
that's saying that much though.
Can you turn the audio on the game up a little?
Yes,
yeah,
I
it
can.
is sorry.
Because I can't even hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's not like we're here to listen to music.
Nah, let's just keep talking about bourbon and stuff.
I thought that's what the whole entire point of this evening was.
I mean, I'm totally fine with bourbon. How's that for balance, by the way?
That sounds normal, yeah.
Okay. Very good.
All right, so we are in technically a Mushroom Way track, even though we're not in Mushroom Way.
Yeah. It's just a transitory area.
Yes. I meant this area. This is
Yes, and I actually don't want to fight any more of this stuff because they're really hard. So let's not do that.
Are you under leveling again?
Yes.
A little bit.
It's not as drastically bad as it was in Final Fantasy VI. It was close to mathematically as low as you could be in FF6.
I mean, that was comedic. I've never been so slaughtered. First battle, it was just like, everyone dies. I was like, well, okay, this is different.
You had to know, mathematically what you're doing at every fight to progress where it was in FF6. It was dumb.
Yeah.
This is not that dumb.
The return of Nintendo 73. Thank you, Nintendo 73.
Woo.
This is also called On the Road or something. Some sort of...
I buy that.
The track?
Yes, I think. Or something like that.
So here's a fun question I'm always running into is how do you decide what a track is called, like in your dissertation or in like a conference paper or something like that on a game?
I can.
In an era before they release an official soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
If there is an
deal with
official
that era.
soundtrack, I match it. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty clear.
Right.
If there is not one, instead what I like to do is see what the fan community has done. Like, how is the SPC named? How is the
Right.
NSF labeled? And as long as it makes sense and it's not obviously dumb, I will tend to go with that.
Yeah. I usually put a footnote either way and say where I got the title.
Yeah.
But
I only
if there
explain it in a
isn't-
footnote in my dissertation anyway, if it's not the OST.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Like, I'm calling this main theme because that's what it is, and there's no OST.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Basically, all of mine though don't have OSTs, so all of my examples.
You're on your own.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VI had some Japanese ones, so I could
speaking of
really
having a nice place, Dana, what's this I hear? Do you want? Is that a stream thing or is that not a stream
No.
thing? Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Secret.
Secret.
Is Bowser called Bowser or is he called Koopa? I wasn't even looking.
It's Bowser.
Like,
Oh,
it's Toadstool and not Peach, right?
Yeah, it's Toadstool.
Yeah. Like old times.
Yep.
Except it was always Peach in the Japanese, and it was Toadstool in the translation, and then they finally said Peach. Eventually. I forget which game she became Peach in. I mean, yeah.
It's
she became Peach in
64
the US.
that is the transitory game.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
See, here
and
she's
Bowser
Toadstool
versus
still.
Koopa is always a whole thing.
Koopa and Toadstool.
And then sometimes they skirt it and it's both, like Bowser and King Koopa.
It is
King of
occasionally
the
Bowser
Koopas.
Koopa, like a first
Yeah,
and a last
what?
Like
name.
first and last name.
That persists to today.
Mario.
Yeah, it's a little inconsistent. So, those that follow me on Twitter and probably everybody on the stream saw the copy pasta that Joe sent me about Waluigi and my like existential
I was-
crisis about it.
I was wondering what the answer was in the end.
So I'm gonna read this now for the benefit of
Okay.
the stream, and then give my proposed answer after doing some thinking on this topic.
Okay.
So,
We don't have new
All
music,
right.
so go for it.
yeah, exactly. We will in a second here, though. Oh, do we still have to? We have to go get a key, right?
Yes. So go ahead.
Okay, so I get a text that reads, now this is just, copy paste all over the internet. Waluigi is the ultimate example of the individual shaped by the signifier. Waluigi is a man seen only in mirror images. Lost in a hall of mirrors, he is a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. You start with Mario, the wholesome all-Italian plumbing Superman. You reflect him to create Luigi. The same thing, but slightly less. I disagree, but you invert Mario to create Wario. Mario turned skeptic and libertarian. Then you reflect the inversion in the reflection. You create a being who can only exist in reference to others. Waluigi is the true nowhere man. Without the other characters he reflects, inverts, and parodies, he has no reason to exist. Waluigi's identity only comes from what and who he isn't. Without a wider frame of reference, he is nothing. He is not his own man. In a world where our identities are shaped by our warped relationships to brands and commerce, we are all Waluigi. So normally, Joe sends me a text like this, and it's like I get dropped into this conversation without any context. And so then I backpedal. I'm like, what are we talking about right now? Like, I assume this is something from the internet somewhere. This time, I immediately went to first a comment that he was basically like, okay, so we're talking about like some simulacrum stuff right now. And then I said the process of describing him also reminds me of dodecaphonic theory, which Joe responded, "You're too smart for copy pastas." And then I said, in serialism, you begin with a 12-tone row, Mario. Then you apply one of the following transformations to him. Inversion, Luigi. Retrograde, Wario. Retrograde inversion, Waluigi. However, typically in a retrograde inversion, the inversion is carried out first, and then the inversion is retrograded. In Igor Stravinsky's later 12-tone works, though, he sometimes performed inverse retrogrades of his source sets. So who in the Mushroom Kingdom is our inverse retrograde? I did some thinking on it. It's still Waluigi, right? It would have to be.
Yeah, it's still Waluigi.
Oh, it's a trick question because I kept being like, "Isn't it still Waluigi?"
Yeah, hey, come on, music theory.
Hey. Well, I haven't really done any real music theory. I just pretend I'm a music theorist.
I really thought about this. I mean, the 12-tone set, that does matter which order you perform these on. But I don't know. There might be some I think it's a different Waluigi, but it's still Waluigi. That's my final answer.
From Waluigi.
Oh my god. So I can't believe I talked over the sad intro, Welcome to Booster Tower, because that's one of my favorites.
I love this track.
Yeah, this is absolutely one of the best.
Hold on, after this battle, we're gonna pause and listen to it for a minute.
Questions. What is this theme gonna be called?
This is Booster's Tower.
Booster's Tower.
Booster's Tower. I can't believe nobody's done a transcription of this. I refuse to believe it.
Or Booster's Theme.
Yeah, because there's a welcome.
Because there's another tower theme.
Yeah, there's Welcome to Booster Tower, which is the sad one, which
Right.
I love. Oh, this one's so good though.
Yeah, this is like his theme proper.
Are we gonna pause and like take a moment on this one?
Yeah, let's. I'll pause at the top of these bombs. Okay. I love the percussion here. It's really rare for me to like Super Nintendo percussion. But
Because of the samples, or,
this is pretty
or why?
ace. Yeah, for some reason the samples tend to, I think anyway, they tend to fit better towards either sheer chiptune sounds, like that are clearly video games, or a more traditional orchestral palette. Percussion samples of this quality tend to suck, in my opinion. It's not until you get like Red Book Audio that you get killer percussion tracks, with rare exception. And this is one of them. I really like this track. I agree that the bass is really pretty ace as well.
So what are we gonna call this one? In terms of genre?
Oh, in terms of genre? I don't know.
Upbeat spaghetti western.
Upbeat spaghetti western. I enjoy that.
It's got to be defined by this bass, whatever that is.
It almost has like that bass line almost reminds me of stuff we'd see in Vintage Swing.
Oh, hey, you get your
I know.
You get your sad piece again for a moment, so I don't want to
Oh,
move here.
yeah. Thank you. I
'Cause
posted it,
I
right?
think if I jump down, we're gonna lose it. So
Oh, yeah. Okay. Here's a quick transcription of it, which
Okay.
isn't mine. Okay, so in chat you'll see the transcription of it. I'm relying heavily on ninsheetmusic.org for these. So that's a good time.
in terms of genre, by the way, this is clearly a JRPG song, more than almost any other track in the game.
Except for the ones for QLEX, right?
This really reminds me of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest.
But you don't get
A
you don't get
lot.
percussion with this type of orchestra outside of video games.
It's very, very JRPG. It's very like sort of ballroom dancey though too.
Yeah, so a couple interesting things to note if you look at the transcription. The first is that we kind of get a little lament bass line thing at the beginning in the middle voice with the E flat, D, C, B descent.
Okay.
It's kind of buried in there, but I think that, that might be an intentional reference, but it's kind of buried by all this arpeggiation happening elsewhere.
Aside, we're talking about Julianne now in the chat, and I don't understand what
Why?
the reference is.
Me neither.
What did I just do?
Is it a Mystic Quest thing? Because I don't know.
Oh, right. Duh. I remember how to do it now.
Mystic Quest. Yes, it's very Mystic Quest. I'm glad you all agree with me.
Yeah, this makes sense. You know, the other reason I might be a little bit biased toward this one is the string emphasis. You know, violinist.
Oh, I see.
It's a pretty nice sample in that it sounds realistically like violins. Sometimes we run into this too, especially on SNES, where the same string sample is used for every single note on the keyboard, and so there's no timbral differentiation between like a violin and a viola.
Right.
So, you know, something will be notated below a G3, but it'll sound kind of like a cross between a violin and a cello. That middle range is a little muddy and weird, unless they're using dedicated separate samples. So, which Uematsu usually does like a high-low division.
Oh, here we go. We got to talk about this awesome 8-bit reference here. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I love how they were doing this early.
Yeah, especially looking at the way they're incorporating that into Odyssey, where you're actually kind of walking.
Right.
I like how this is congruous with the 3D space.
This moment here, it doesn't actually remind me of Odyssey, though of course that makes sense for obvious reasons. I think more of Link's Awakening, where like this is also kind of a side Mario game. It's not a real Mario game. Link's Awakening was thought of as not a real Zelda game, and so they could just do completely random stuff and get away with it. And I don't think in a core Mario game at this time, you would have seen this done. They weren't so self-referential yet.
Maybe this is one of the things that gave them the idea to do that. Like, we're playing with our own franchise here because we sort of have an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, maybe.
Oops. Oh my god, I love it. Oh my, and then it's the death sound. I love it.
Yeah, that's perfect. Ooh, I do not want to fight extra things. Oh, I'm gonna fight extra things though. That's okay.
Oh, such a good theme. Ooh, it looks like somebody may have transcribed it.
Nice.
The YouTuber claims that the actual name of the theme is "And My Name's Bucky," Bukki.
Yes, I saw that.
Where does that come from?
I don't know.
Huh. It does show up when I search that way. I wonder if I look for sheet music or transcriptions if it'll pop up.
I can't find the Mystic Quest tune that is similar to this, but similar sound here, which is more of a sadder tune. My internet's very slow though.
Yeah, I'm not finding anything definitive here.
Can't tell if Music Dan is serious or not, but just in case, Square is responsible for almost every single JRPG trope in existence, with the exception of the medieval Renaissance fanfare stuff that Dragon Quest claims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think there's a lot of things that happen in this game that don't happen in other Square games, but not really the other way around. And
This is a baller cutscene, by the way. They gaze into each other's eyes.
So good. It's like this romance between Chain Chomp and Bowser.
Yep.
She's a bit shy. Look the other way, will you?
I love that there's this weird romance between the Chomp and Bowser.
Aww. So cute.
It's way overpowered for this point in the game, too. You just shouldn't have it.
Okay, so the fan transcription. I always love these videos on YouTube where they just scroll their Sibelius or Finale or whatever transcription for us so we can get a look at it in real time and hear the playback that they've come up with. It's kind of neat.
Dragon Quest is Enix, by the way, as are a number of really underrated gems that kind of get lost in our community in the wake of Final Fantasy. And I'm just as guilty of that as everybody else. I have a Final Fantasy VI book chapter on coming up, and I should probably be writing about, like, Robotrek or Terranigma instead.
Yeah.
Interesting that they notated that as a Barry Sax, like going really tugging as fast as possible.
Right. That's the other fun thing about doing these types of fan transcription.
I mean, there is a lot of saxophone
This is why I do my own.
in the soundtrack,
Yes.
which is unusual.
And in this tune in particular.
Yes.
Oh, rats.
Like
I was really hoping there'd be something here, but there's not.
Yeah, sometimes this is a discussion I've had with everybody at some point. The what do I call this instrument in the transcription moment, which is one of the reasons that I no longer do that as a matter of course. I only go with SPC channels. If I'm doing an SNES game, I say which channel it is. If I provide any kind of instrument label, I have a disclaimer in the discs that those are, not meant as any sort of literal identification because they're still abstract representations of whatever the real world analog is. So you have to make decisions about what to call things sometimes. Especially with some of the range issues. Like, if it's going lower than a violin, do I have to call it a viola if it's a violin sample?
Yeah, and some stylistic, like, rhythmic things. Like, I was trying to transcribe the Super Mario World, like, the main overworld theme, and Koji Kondo calls it a banjo, but it strums like a ukulele, and I'm like, I don't know, so I put ukulele/banjo in the transcription.
Great. And
you're talking about
somebody
that instrument?
No, it's during the whole thing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it definitely sounds more banjo than ukulele.
It's like high, and then it goes. I mean, I actually originally called it a banjo, and then I was like, it's ukulele because of the steel drum. But also then you have the tuba. So the banjo kind of went with the tuba and the kind of weird like New Orleans thing. It's just so eclectic. It was too much.
Yeah, and Chrono Trigger certainly taught us to stop caring about what instrument goes with what, right? That was one of the big points of Chrono Trigger.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, because all of us thought each instrument was like a different thing.
Yeah, all the textural ambiguity that happens because they just liked how things sounded together.
This piccolo euphonium that we have, yeah.
Or what did we determine in FF6? It was like clarinet.
It was versus a clarinet or an oboe, I think, and FF6 was the big deal.
Yeah.
It was like a flute with like with a mouth vibrato instead of like a diaphragmatic vibrato or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like unstylistic, so you can't rely on anything you know about stylistic anything. So just don't do it.
I mean, you can to a point if they're like aping classical music or trying to do something like that.
True.
But there's almost always some sort of concession made to the chip itself and its capabilities and its range and whether or not you have controls over different elements. The NES games, not all the channels have equal access to things. The triangle channel didn't have volume control,
Right.
So.
Or just getting new sounds, out of,
Yeah.
The fact that it's electronic, you can do whatever you want. You can make a berry sax, time as fast as possible to get that growl, or whatever that is. So.
Yeah, it's like a tremolo applied to an instrument that wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
It's definitely easier to apply instrument labels when the track is clearly aspiring to have instruments. Like, there's clearly a drum and a tambourine sound that we're hearing right now in this victory music, right? It's not like we have to stretch and imagine that there's a tambourine. Like, that is what it is trying to do.
Okay.
And you'd have a really hard time arguing otherwise. Whereas there are times, I think the Super Nintendo is actually one of the harder instances. Because there are times when, like, that's not as clear. And then on the regular Nintendo, you're always making that assumption. It's clearly a chiptune sound, and you're kind of hearing it the way you want.
Yeah, and that's one reason I just label it, pulse 1, pulse 2, triangle, noise.
I think on NES, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I found it to just be annoying. And I also, in non-disc work that's more Ludo-facing, I would be a little bit more specific about what settings are being applied. Pull it up in the tracker and see exactly what we're setting things to. But for the purposes of most of my committee, I'm able to just sort of leave it as is and not put all that information in there. Booster looks like a Muppet, doesn't he? The way his mouth opens.
Yeah, it's humongous. Like there's a hand inside moving his face.
Yeah.
And then I love his tears. His massive waterfall of tears.
So this is a really
It's like such
freaky
an anime
moment.
move.
Look at this here. This is where you emerge out of that door automatically.
Uh-huh.
The perspective of this game sometimes sucks. And this is one of those moments. Like, he should be able to get you, but he can't.
Yeah. So I almost called this like a swing kind of feel.
I see it.
Something about the bass. We were talking about the bass line being a key to that, but I also hear a little bit of like that little drop moment where it just has bass line and percussion right here.
A little rockabilly.
Wait.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's another kind of eclectic genre track.
Yeah, but I mean, it really kind of just sounds, like that kind of, 50s rockabilly kind of swingy little guitar thing going on. That's
Yeah. Okay, yeah. We'll call it rockabilly. I like that.
Yeah, I was supposed to give that wallet to somebody, wasn't I? Oops.
You jerk.
I know.
They're out there canceling all their credit cards because of you.
Also, Spoony Bard, who is your advisor? Because, man, I'm
These are good
jealous.
questions. I know. My advisor was like, I played Sonic the Hedgehog in grad school sometimes when I was avoiding writing my dissertation. That was like the only game he knew. So.
Yeah.
I remember once having a conversation explaining what a boss was, like just the terminology.
Yep.
Because I was
that.
talking about loops, boss loops being different.
Yeah, I had to explain cutscene to Peter as well.
Yeah, and then I go through. There was a bit of like, wait, there's the disconnect, but I didn't understand what wasn't understood, and so then it became clear it was boss, and so then I'm like, oh yeah, you get to the end of the level, and usually you fight this guy that's harder than a regular enemy, but it's not the final end of the game, and he's like, oh okay, it's like an adversary. I'm like, yeah, yes, you fight an adversary.
So, my academic advisor had well, he still has, I suppose, a college-age son in computer science who plays games. And I'm pretty convinced that like 2/3 of my dissertation was filtered through him.
Same. My advisor's son works for Discord, and
Oh,
so
nice.
he doesn't know. I mean, my advisor, I think, filters everything through him as well.
The music that plays here, by the way, is a throwback. It is the bonus music from Mario 3, the card matching game.
Matching. Yes,
P.S.
sir.
I'm going to save very quickly, and now we can talk about music again. But I need the prize.
I love that rising bass line.
Yeah,
This is a lower octave, I believe, than the original.
that is accurate.
I mean, that's the only thing that happens even in that one, right? It's just a bass line.
Yeah, there's not even percussion, it's just a bass line.
So jamming. This would be a fun composition assignment, is to just have kids compose something over that bass line. Composition teachers, take note. Give that assignment since I can.
Huh?
Yes, I believe it is used in Great Guys Casino. Thanks, Music Dan. I'm fairly certain that you were right about
I
that.
think so.
Wait a second.
Oh, it's up there!
He just looks up like, oh yeah, there it is. For the discussion about advisors, being or not being game people, I will say that the more important thing is that you have a productive relationship with your advisor overall. Like, there are medium-specific things. That's why you have an outside person on the committee. I have Neil Lerner on my committee for that reason. So he can call me on all that stuff. But my advisor is an incredible editor, and we communicate well just in terms of writing and how to craft what we're doing. And I think that's really important for me, having not had a musicology master's. Coming out of a performance master's, I really needed somebody to help me with that kind of transition from, okay, I just wrote a 40-page paper for a seminar, to how do I expand this into a larger project that has some sort of narrative thread.
You wrote 40-page papers for your seminars?
Yeah, wait. Let's be clear. You have more
Yeah?
chapters in your dissertation than I do. Your seminar papers are the length of my dissertation chapters.
Or like 12 pages.
Be awarded your
know.
degree already, Dana.
It depends. I mean, it depended on the seminar, but yeah.
It was much
there were
closer
a
to
couple
20
in there.
for me for the seminars. Maybe I'm under budget here.
There were a couple in there that were potential dissertation topics, and so I purposely spent a lot of time and energy on them, and there were discussions with the professor that they just expanded. My Jonas Waldo work was always pretty long for that reason, which I do hope to publish that down the line here. I guess not too far down the line. That's going to be one of my earlier projects after this, but what else? My Philip Glass stuff, because I thought Satyagraha was going to be my dissertation for a while. So that's the other thing
I'm
about
going
coming
to
out of the
cheat,
masters.
team. Don't hate me.
I think my longest seminar paper was 15 pages.
Yeah, I definitely had stuff in the 12 to 15 range, but I definitely had ones that were 30, 40.
I think like also on the quarter system, the professors wanted them to be
That's true.
short. Like,
Yeah.
I sort of had upper limits of 20, so they were often
Most of
around
my
15.
professors did not want to read more than, like, if I hit 21, that was okay finishing my thought, but like 30 would have been like, what are you doing to me?
Well, it's a combination of things.
So
too,
even in
you
slow
know.
motion, I can't do it.
We had we had a pretty large faculty when I started, and a very small number of musicologists, and so they would, even in a seminar that had a lot of other folk from the department, they would kind of privilege the musicology papers anyway and give us a little bit more attention, and we would be bringing drafts to them, throughout the semester, meeting, trying to develop things. So I think there was a bit of that like they knew it wasn't 40 pages of like, why did this all need to be here? But I'm also pretty lucky that most of my school has sort of jived with my writing style. So I know folks who've had a harder time where the department basically doesn't like how they write. So no matter what they write, there were issues with structure and getting them to the style that they liked. So I never felt like that was a very big transition. Luckily, knock on wood. So far, it's been pretty good. And if anything, this editing job has made it better because now I'm really good at the nitpicky crap that nobody usually pay attention to until the very end.
Yeah.
So I'm currently writing everything in the final formatting so that I don't have to do it later.
Smart.
Yeah, I just had that thought like a few months ago, like, what if I just pulled up the disk template as is and I did everything in there? Which I think a lot of people start with good intentions and do that, but then they lose the thread and it gets too unwieldy and they stop. Until at the end, you're like going through, and I'm sure, Ryan, you just did this, right? The reformatting process is real fun.
You could call it that.
Yeah, so...
I'm actually doing that now with my Final Fantasy VI chapter, because the conference paper is like 4 years old now. And it is really hard to decide where I want to expand and how many different things I want to reference. And it's not for lack of material, it's just because there's almost too much.
There's too much material. There just really is. There's so many things. There's so many things.
I don't think I can responsibly write a Final Fantasy VI chapter about opera without doing some serious citation of Will Chang's own chapter on the same subject.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's certainly true.
Whereas I'm writing a Nobu Uematsu chapter for the same said book that all four of us are going to be in. And I am attempting to get away with this rhetorically where I don't talk about Final Fantasy at all.
Nice.
Without people thinking that it's like I'm an idiot that is missing the elephant.
What is your subject for your chapter?
I'm looking at Cleopatra no Mahal, which is an FDS game released before Final Fantasy came out. So
Nice.
It was actually Uematsu's, in terms of when the games came out, it was his last score before Final Fantasy. Who knows, in the working process when he wrote everything, but...
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm able to say, well, it was before Final Fantasy anyway, and second, I don't think... there's a little bit of style history where somebody's going to have certain tendencies across all the games that they do and certain things that they like to turn to. I know Winifred Phillips has talked about that you develop your own little analogs.
People can surprise you sometimes, though.
They can also surprise you, so I'm trying as much as I can to just look at this game on its own without thinking of it in terms of, like, setting up things for Final Fantasy, because I just don't think that that's a productive area to get into here.
Yeah, like a teleological thing.
I wish I knew where it was.
Yeah,
I would go get it and brag. I'm seeing the stream chat. I was at the very first Play concert in Chicago, and I've got a poster signed by everybody you can name.
Hey.
I think that's the opening to my undergrad thesis is that concert.
That was an amazing concert. It was at the Rosemont Theater in Chicago?
At the Rosemont Theater in Chicago.
Were you there?
No, it was just the opener to my thesis. Like, people like this music. No, this was 2009 or something.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Ooh. That would be really cool if you were there at the thing that I wrote about without having been there.
I was there.
Trying to
Very cool.
find it.
I got the coolest thing signed there, actually. Jeremy Soule was in the receiving line. And I had brought along my pocket guide to the Empire for, like, the guidebook to Superfan Tamriel.
Whoa.
Cool.
And now that is signed to me.
Awesome.
I like how this is just percussion.
It's gonna...
I know it's gonna add stuff, but
Right.
they do a nice job with layers here. Like this happens at the Frog Pond too, where you just have the percussion layer and then you add in the theme over top. Which is nice kind of for players' attention, because there's text to read in that moment. And then we kind of launch into the full musical moment.
I'm gonna start over. I need to do better.
Oh, and I'm gonna call this one polka infused.
I'm down for that.
No, this almost sounded to me like rawhide.
Yeah, I like it.
Like what?
It's rawhide.
Rawhide.
Oh.
Come on.
You know, like there's shared moments there that sound like rawhide. The whole thing doesn't, but that main melody sounds just exactly like rawhide. It irritates me.
Circus underbelly. I like that terminology.
Yeah, so good. The main reason I said polka, of course, is the bass line. It's got that sort of bass line motion.
I'm starting to think a lot of this bass too is like also made by like Barry Saxons. Now I think of
Yeah.
both like saxophones.
It sort of gives,
And tuba.
it gives almost that tuba, almost that tuba thing, which is the other. I was listening to some polka today too, so that could be coloring it. I found that polka is really good to drive to.
What?
It's like really mellow. I don't know. Maybe mellow's not the right word, but it certainly doesn't like agitate.
Polka and mellow do not. No, that's not the right word.
I agree.
It doesn't agitate the way my death metal does, for example.
Also, this is the worst I've ever done on Boosters Hill here.
Well, it's because we're all talking about polka music. It's hard not to get excited when there's polka involved.
I do love a good polka.
I wonder how many keys does this go through? I guess is it fixed based on it's fixed, right?
Yeah, because it has
Okay.
to start over.
Maybe the music Dan was keeping track.
Booster Hill theme.
4 is gonna have to be good enough. This game is easy anyway, right?
Oh, Mary
So-
Moore. Now we're in a nice little waltzy moment because, I don't know, people often waltz at weddings? No?
You dance at a wedding though, right? At the reception?
Yeah, yes, there's like the dance
And
feel.
a waltz is a couple's dance, right? No one solo
Yeah.
waltzes.
Yeah.
So I get it.
But this ain't no Viennese waltz. I don't know, it's got a Mario inflection of silliness.
Melody on the flute that's so exposed kind of helps with that.
Mm-hmm. But I also think
that
the
like
bass
mid-friend.
samples are kind of weird. For
I mean, by our
They seem-
orchestral standards, this is like a funk bass, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's always so. Oh, hi, Lenny. Lenny, didn't you teach the theme of love from Final Fantasy IV today?
Ooh, I love that.
On your class about Japan?
That's pretty awesome.
Here's a Mary Moore for us in the chat. I love the comment about the forever extending key, finding the square.
Mhm.
I love that you can buy a bathtub ring, and it says you'll win her heart with this bathtub ring.
Ew. I didn't even notice that.
True words have never been spoken.
Layers to that joke if you think about it.
I can confirm that
Yes!
is incorrect, by the way.
Is it a ring made out of porcelain?
I'd love to know the original translation. Danny, you're my computer looking up
I
person.
was
Get on
gonna
that.
say I'm gonna look it up.
Bathtub ring. We're gonna buy one. Yep, there it is. Technically, it's B-tub ring, but it's pretty clear that it's supposed to mean bathtub, right?
I'm looking for a text dump here.
Only the princess can wear it too. Wait, the recorders were a health hazard, Lenny? I want to hear this.
I know.
It's a
I
little
love
bit,
recorders.
I find this so sad.
Entertaining.
I like the idea of the school nurse rushing in the middle of class and just taking them all away.
Like, no!
Oh, the flu outbreak.
Yeah, but I mean,
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
oh, so they were sharing them. I see. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
So-
yeah, you can't
Sound like
share
a-
recorders.
Oh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I love recorders.
Yay!
says the early music scholar. Yay! There was much rejoicing.
Seriously, they're awesome. And I have to sometimes go on a little bit of a... With my
So-
students, sometimes they're a little surprised.
I was introduced to an instrument on one of Polygon's videos recently, of all places, to learn about a new musical instrument.
Yeah.
You take a recorder, and Yamaha has stuck a saxophone mouthpiece on the top of it,
Yeah!
and made a new
gosh.
instrument out of it for like $70
Yeah.
bucks. It sounds annoying AF, and I want one really bad.
They sound annoying.
But then-
They sound actually really interesting.
Here's the thing, Ryan. You bring that home, your kids are gonna get a hold of it.
Oh, we're all getting automatones soon. That's my new instrument.
Oh,
I'm getting a big automaton because I'm
Ooh, a big one?
big
I have a
kid.
little one.
And the kids are gonna get little automatones because they're little.
I like to be a little choir.
family band.
A choir that goes all the time.
Get lost.
I'm not even finding a text dump of this game, which normally I can find pretty easily.
Hmm.
And I don't have the Japanese ROM of this one. I'd have to download that.
I'm surprised that there's no like translation FAQ script thing for this.
I want to learn more about the bathtub ring.
Yeah, you gotta find the
I'm on
bathtub
it.
ring.
I'm gonna keep looking.
Keep
Mary
looking.
Moore can keep on waltzing around.
Okay, so next Nakfagum, I will totally bring an automaton.
Yes, I'll bring mine.
I talked about bringing my accordion this time, but I ended up not doing that.
You're gonna do your demo paper next time.
Yeah, I'm tempted to do that. I think it would be a lot of fun. Maybe as an in-person lightning talk.
Hmm.
I don't, we have the lightning talk format. I don't think they necessarily have to be pre-recorded,
Hmm.
but that might be like that type of.
It's my opinion the lightning
Cataloging.
talks are better if you create them as video presentations. Having done
I mean,
one
I could
myself.
do that, but I think it would wreck the idea of doing live demo.
Well,
And
essentially, you're not making a live demo. You just create an awesome YouTube video at that point, right? Like Mark Brown's game
Okay,
design
but
stuff.
then I wouldn't have the instrument with me. That's what I'm saying. Then I don't get to do that part of it, which would be less fun.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But it would be fun to do that as a lightning talk, only because I find those kind of catalog papers kind of boring when somebody's like, here's a bunch of examples of this thing in a thing. Which isn't to say I haven't done that myself, but I always try to go, okay, and
I was
Yeah.
actually really excited
have
that
to
I
add
got to
something
do a
else to
10-minute talk at Nakfagum, because I feel like a 10-minute talk can justify what I had, which was, hey, this thing is really cool, and it's really cool as a pedagogical tool, and all of you should know about it, and here's why it's really awesome. That's it. And then the
Yeah.
talk was done, right? I didn't have to go into the why of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, as a 20-minute
Yeah.
talk, my particular paper would have been a lot more work than a 10-minute talk was.
Yeah.
I'm still curious, though. The overall point, I think, is convincing that the fact that the game is sort of transcribing the performances differently says something about those interpretations, but is there a way to then read their transcription in a productive way? And I'm sure that this is what you got to in your chapter. That's kind of the next step for me, Ryan.
I'm not convinced that there's a super easy way to do it. It took me, and Addie actually, like 2 months to transcribe Beethoven 5 into audio surf notation format.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, he's the only sniff it on the screen. Why does he not just sniff it? He's sniff it 3. Get wrecked.
Maybe it's tied to the sprite.
Yeah.
There's one.
They're slightly different.
See, that's one. They all scattered. It's to show us the randomizing of them running around, because we did 3, 1, 2. Ah, the crown. If you're quick, something good might happen.
312 is a
Yep.
Chicago area code,
Save
so
that
that's
state.
clearly a secret.
Yeah?
So is 773, but that's
Whoa.
other information that's irrelevant.
Oh my god, we're gonna load. God, I suck at this.
Here we go. Maybe. I might be onto something about the bathtub ring. Let's see. Ah, wait.
Oh, cool. Me and my brother, who's on the chat, are from New Jersey. Spoony Bard.
Hey, wait, there's 4 things I have to find? Where's the 4th thing?
Love.
Okay, one more time. I'm totally good
I
at this
did it.
game. I've played it before.
I think I did it. Hold on.
Yay, bathtub ring.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. So originally it was called the Rabu Rabu. So Rabu Rabu means like lovey-dovey.
The lovey-dovey.
It's kind of like a gitaigo, a Japanese onomatopoeia. You know, like a lot of people are more familiar with like Doki Doki is a heartbeat.
Okay.
Or we talked about this on Twitter and other places. Karo Karo for a frog ribbit.
Yeah.
They're usually in that form where it's the same word repeated twice. And there's a lot more of them than there are in English. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, Rabu Rabu is kind of like your head over heels in love. So I don't know why the heck they called it bathtub ring or B-tub. Batub ring.
Bathtub ring.
I'm forever gonna call it the Batub ring. The Batub.
It's DJ name.
DJ Batub. That's interesting. Rabu Rabu Ringu. Errol. I will.
That's way better than the the brown ring that you have to clean off with Lysol, which
Right.
is what I always assumed.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
that's
particularly
kind of-
attractive to either gender. It turns out.
That sort of shows you that it's a good. This is a Woolsey translation, right?
Yeah.
So that's classic Woolsey-ism there. But yeah, there it is on screen. Rabu Rabu Ringu. And never assume that anything I pronounce in Japanese is at all right. I only learn how to read languages. I don't learn how to speak them. And now you have to fight the wedding cake.
Yep.
And the
Don't
baker.
look up B-tub on Urban Dictionary.
Uh-oh.
Uh,
As I open a new tab. Am I gonna hate myself?
It's not as bad as it could be.
Is it any worse than everything I talked about in my porn paper?
oh no.
For the stream, in case folks aren't in the field, I wrote a paper on 8-bit Atari porn game sound. And presented that a few years ago at our National Musicology of Video Game Conference, NEC the Gum.
It was pretty fantastic.
It was a lot of fun.
ever.
And it will get published eventually.
Yeah.
Plans for that.
The thing with every Naxpagum paper I've ever given, where I'm like, it's gonna get published.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
There's definitely papers you give and you're like, yeah, I don't need to do anything with that one. The first paper I gave it music in the moving image was like, okay, that was fine. That was helping me work through some things for my diss.
Yeah. I don't know.
What'd you give it music in the moving image that you...
It was a little bit of my taxonomy of form and function of game sound,
Okay.
which is me, doing that obnoxious thing where other people have done this, but somehow it's still not good enough for my purposes. So,
Right.
Which isn't to say that I don't think, like, Karen Collins' taxonomy is any good, or certainly there have been other folks who have talked about different functions of game sound. Karen, you mentioned somebody's taxonomy in your Civ chapter. I'm trying to remember who it was.
The Civ 5 or the Civ 4? Sorry.
The Civ 4 chapter.
Yeah. You mean the different kinds of sound, the Axel Stockberg?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
also
also
that way back in the day, but it was already so. It was already kind of preliminary. That was such an old kind of like ground floor video game music scholarship thing that, I don't really know that I would think it still holds. No, I'm curious to know what we think about that.
Yeah, I thought it, it's useful. It kind of, I needed something that bridged the gap between, Collins seemed to be interested in what makes it trigger in the game code, right? Which is a useful way of looking at it. I'm interested also in effects on the player's body, whether that is physiologically or cognitively speaking. So I sort of use both of those and then a few other ways of talking about the types of sounds that exist, and then that's a whole chapter, just sort of explaining, as you do in these things.
Yep.
The nice thing is that I think all these techniques, genre, an expectation. But that's why I was sort of saying I don't really know that his system is, kind of universally applicable. You're focusing specifically on cheese. Sonomine, is that a word? That kind of thing. For a game like Civ 4 or any of the Civs, it's so important to kind of differentiate between sounds and the background sounds and the things that are giving you more direct information. But that game's not going to work for the
Exactly.
information.
Yeah, there's, you can look at it from kind of the text side, which I think, in a way, that's what, like, Collins' taxonomy does. But I think a lot of us have looked more at the reception end of this meaning making as well. I love the chomp noise so much.
It's really awesome.
It's like a dog, like gnawing on something, which kind of makes sense. They kind of present it almost like it's a dog on a leash.
Yeah.
In this game in particular.
Yeah, but in all the iterations.
And
really.
especially because he has like the emotional connection to it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
A boy and his dog.
yeah.
We have to heal a little bit, because if that happens again, we will die. So one character needs healing.
But you're down to the bottom layer.
It's just a mushroom. I don't want to get spiked.
The question is, did you save the top tier of cake for your first wedding anniversary? the grossest wedding tradition of all. I don't know, and so I didn't do it, the first time around, nor would I ever do it again because I think it's just disgusting. Freezer burned cake after a year, like there's no way that's gonna be good. Just get your baker to make you a new cake.
There you go.
I know some people who have done it. What's really sad is right now I can't tell you if we did it or not. I'd have to go ask Maddie.
You think you would remember because it would taste so bad.
The only thing I remember about our cake is that it fell over. The person who made the cake forgot to put the support columns into the cake. So there's this amazing picture of Addie's uncle holding like the fallen cake in his hand with Addie's dad in the background of the picture going, "Oh no."
Yeah. Okay. So in the chat, this is an interesting thing. Why did that tradition start? Believe it or not, it was actually to show off home freezer technology.
Nice.
Because there was no way to save a cake
that was like
piece
Frigidaire.
for a year. Yeah, until you had the ability to freeze things at home reliably for that length of time. So that was actually my reason at my own wedding to not wrap up the cake.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we wrapped it up and then ate it the next day. We didn't freeze it. So we also didn't have wedding cakes for everybody. But, insert joke about that's why the marriage didn't work out. I don't know. We didn't save the cake. It was bad luck. Alright, chat, what is a fuck off cake? Is that like a cake that you have for your divorce hearing? Because if so, why didn't I get on that?
Yeah, I feel like you would have been
divorce
all
cakes.
on top of a fuck off cake if that was the case.
I'm sure there is a total niche market for divorce cake. It just has to. It could be like cupcakes. They're totally separate.
Oh. Just ridiculous.
It's awesome. It's not ridiculous. Look at him eat that cake. He's a champion.
Those tears.
I like that he just wants to do all of the things associated with a wedding and he doesn't care about actually being married.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I had the cake. I showed up. It was great. Peace.
We did a mock ceremony. We did, we had the wedding attire. That's all that matters.
It's better than Odyssey, honestly.
For a lot of people, I almost think that you should just have like a big party in your 20s where you get to wear whatever you want. And then you can go ahead and get married later. But I've definitely, I'm in a professional string quartet. I've worked with a lot of brides that want a wedding more than they want a marriage.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, for a lot of them, they get into it and they figure it out somehow and it works. But, they're sitting there crying the day of the wedding because the napkin rings are not the ones that they ordered with the venue.
They
and
ordered batub rings.
Right,
and
they got all these batub rings. Their stupid wedding in Marymore. And they're like really convinced that the guests are going to notice that they don't match or, whatever it is. And you're just like, nope. Like, you should not be worrying about this right now. Because something will go wrong. It's usually, if your venue and your vendors do their job right, you don't know. But the string quartet, I'll tell you all the time, gets the cues. The people that are supposed to cue us don't cue us. Like, we all I have them come and stand, and I'm like, what is our signal? And they will still screw it up all the time.
Yeah.
So I just watch like a clock, and I'm like, that's a bridesmaid. Switch now. And my quartet's like, flip.
See, we know what the guy is thinking. Let's get this wedding over with so we can stay in the suite.
I don't know. That's all I'd be thinking about. I think it depends on the girl. Especially depending on where you go on a honeymoon. Ryan, where did you go on your honeymoon?
We went to Portland, Maine for our honeymoon. It was fantastic. There was biking around the islands just outside of town. There was, I mean, it's still cold water, but you could wade out in it, and for beaches in June. It was really nice.
That sounds lovely. And then you got to take a second honeymoon to Rome, right? For her conference?
That's right, we did a week and a half. We started in Rome, and then did Florence and Verona, and ended up in Riva del Garda.
That's exciting.
And that was sick.
Wow.
That's like the best week of my entire life, was probably like touring Italy.
The food, if nothing else, right?
Yeah, so restaurants there, like, the way that a restaurant here will offer you water, and then, like, the expectation is you're going to order a soda or an iced tea, they'll just set wine down, and then you can order water if you want it.
Wonderful.
And the wine that
So
they
it's
do
just
that
like
with
whatever
is,
house
like,
wine that they have.
it's way better than your average, like, my level price wine. Here.
That sounds amazing.
Everything about it was amazing. I had gelato every single day I was in Italy.
No. What a party.
So good. So good.
There was
I
one
love-
place in Rome that had a date-flavored gelato that I would, like,
Ooh.
cut a finger off to eat again. It was so good.
I also have to say that I spent some time in Rome many moons ago, and it also had the best Chinese food I've ever had.
Really?
Wow.
We did not have
Yes.
Chinese food while we were there.
I did not go to Rome looking for Chinese food. But it happened to me, and I was very grateful, and it was right next to the Pantheon, and it was flipping fantastic.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Wow.
It was incredible. Yes.
My first American Musicological Society conference was the New Orleans Triple Conference, and while I was there, I had some of the best sushi I'd ever had. Because it was a place that was right on the water, so
I was
you know
also,
that
I was,
that
I
didn't
was-
occur to me.
New Orleans is a foodie town. That doesn't
Yes.
surprise me.
And it was
I-
such a divey little hole-in-the-wall place, but everyone was ordering the sushi, so we're like, oh, all right, we'll try, whatever. And it was so good, we just kept ordering it.
Yeah. I went to New Orleans. That was the first year I was on the job market, and I had interviews, and I was deathly ill.
Oh,
Oh
no.
god.
I had the worst like sinus infection or some ear infection. I had to fly, and my ears hurt so bad. And I walk off the plane and go right into a job interview, and I had laryngitis.
Oh
And I-
no.
Oh.
So I'm trying to whisper through this interview with hot tea, and then go take a nap. And I was some colleague friends of mine set up this hotel room, and we had one too many people in it. So I'm sick, I have job interviews, and I'm sleeping on the floor in the
Oh no.
in New Orleans.
Oh.
And I went to one restaurant. I was miserable.
Oh.
I was so sad. I had the beignets. I went to Cafe
Good.
Town,
You have to.
and I had alligator.
Oh,
Yes,
neat.
I did too when I was there. It was so good.
Can we comment on Mario's face right here, please? 'Cause
Oh.
This is fantastic.
Very dubious, indeed.
He's mimicking the sword, right, Smithy?
Right. He's trying to look like the sword, Exor.
That's really good. It was a gigantic sword. We found Waluigi. Nicely done, chat.
Well played at home. Well played.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I had a lot of the classics in New Orleans. I had really good jambalaya. It's pretty excellent. Athleta. I had Cafe du Monde. Went to the Carousel Bar, which is a really cool
Yeah.
French Quarter. Wasn't staying in that hotel, but like went and sat at the bar and like got some photos with it and stuff. It was really fun. That's a city I would definitely go back to. I felt like I barely scratched the surface. And I'm a big foodie, so I like places that have interesting food.
I think it's SAM that's there next year.
They're in Kansas City this year.
Yeah, I think it's SAM that's in New Orleans next year. I was looking at the
Nice.
call for papers, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, I've been there for a conference, but I can't really say that I remember much or that I enjoyed myself, and I'd love to go back. So
Yeah.
that actually made me think that Maybe I'll try for that one so I can go back and do it right.
Yeah.
Kansas City is pretty close to my in-laws. Maybe I should go to SMT instead of AMS. This year.
It's SAM that's there this year in
Yeah.
March.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, AMS SMT are both in Texas in
San
That's right,
Antonio.
it's a joint
Right, yeah.
meeting here. Never
Yeah.
mind, then I'll go to that one.
I'm
Sorry,
not
I
looking
lost track of the
forward to
thread
it.
watching my game.
It's like my third time to Texas in like 3 years.
Yeah.
It's so far away.
I
over
put
it.
in, I
Same.
put in a paper. If I don't get in, I don't think I'm going.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And if I do get in, then obviously I'll go. But if I don't get
Yeah.
in, I might just sit this year out. Honestly.
Good for you, girl.
Have we put out the call for
I-
papers for the study group yet?
No.
Nothing. We still need elections. We still need everything.
I know.
Okay.
Michael and I are working on it.
I know. It's not a criticism at all. It's just saying that all the stuff still needs to come out.
Yes. We have had a lot of folks kind of propose themselves. P.S. If anyone watching the stream or on the stream is interested, I think we're looking for a secretary and a web person. And I don't remember who else is in that group. I feel like we have too many officers in this Ludo study group. There's so
I don't
many.
remember
I've
how
lost
many
track.
for large we need because I
But
think
anyone
I'm
that's
staying
interested
on.
in serving, let me know.
Yeah,
Hit me up.
yeah. And I'm rotating off after this year, so there will
Yeah.
be an at-large position.
Yeah. Ludo, Michael and I, so, here's a good chance to take the temperature of some folks. Michael and I were thinking of maybe proposing a kind of interactive session that is a series of demonstrations from different people. So it may not be as much a call for papers as kind of appointing folks with different specialties. So, for example, Jesse's paper at NACVGM this year, where he was showing us a little bit about how he teaches composition to his students and teaches them a little bit of the
That was
tracking
so
program.
good.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
A lot of us were like, I would love a little more training on some of that. So like, what if he came and gave like a 10 to 15 minute demo, and we did a series of those in like working with tech. We could have like a Kevin Burke come in and talk about picking apart a sound chip, and we could have somebody come in and like do like a transcription. Like different mini workshops that would all be one long session. That are like useful tools of the trade.
That sounds
But
great.
but haven't they? Is it too late already to submit an actual workshop proposal because they have those?
Oh no! So study groups have dedicated time no matter what.
No, I
So
know.
we
I
We can
reckon.
decide our format, but
Right, but I was like, if you wanted to have a workshop and still also have time for papers, that could be a thing that got like,
Yeah.
up as a separate thing. I just don't know that it's if it's something we just want to do, then use the study group time for it. If anybody's going to be upset about that because they want to do an actual paper, I don't know that it matters.
Well,
but
I think if
SMT
somebody had a paper in mind, they may have already proposed it. So there is the possibility they'll get to do it on the regular program.
I mean, I don't know. As you know, they haven't been that great at accepting video games.
well, SMT has the Film and Multimedia Study Group,
Yeah.
interest group that always does papers.
So I'm co-chair of AMS Music and Media. We are partnering with the SMT group this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have, so that session I can actually speak more to. Our plan is we're actually doing kind of a lightning talk theme session where everybody, every time there's a musicology paper accepted, there has to be a music theorist paired with them. So the idea is that they would come to us in pairs and say, we want to talk about, you can choose your topic between the two of you, but that you give like a musicology and a theory take on it.
Oh,
That is
Yeah,
cool.
so we're trying to promote some interdisciplinarity. We're also trying to fit in as many papers as we can fit. So,
cool. Yeah.
Interesting.
I love the steel drum.
It's really excellent. Sadly, there's no real reason to be here right now except to get my information that I need and then move on.
Yeah, I feel like I'm drinking the wrong drink for that anyway. It needs to have like an umbrella in it.
Yeah,
Ooh, are we at Star Hill?
we are. I'll pause here so you can chat about it.
Just take a second. All that reverb, though.
I like that they don't have the organ enter in right away. It takes a minute to get like the drone organ tone.
Not much to it. I mean, it's got all your classic star twinkling.
Actually, I think the reverb on the twinkling here creates this weird minimalist effect. Like, it's almost out of meter on the reverb.
It's almost doubled.
But it's not doubled in a neat, easy way.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's not quite. I mean, quarterly, what's happening here?
I don't know.
Ugh, we're in G flat. Ugh,
Yeah,
egg me.
Blah.
All right, what do we got? G flat, and it stays in G flat for a while.
it does.
When does it change?
Oh, to B flat.
To B flat. It's really static harmonically.
One of my favorite things about, oops, no fast forward, is that
Is that supposed to be like a timeless, dreamless, or timeless, dreamy thing? Is that the idea that like in dreams there is
Maybe.
no time? And so we have this static harmonic motion kind of echoing that? Oh, I love this. I love how you spy on people's dreams.
did you notice that one of them is I wish I had some cricket jam?
Mm-hmm. It's like you can tell who a lot of them are.
Right, like I wish I wasn't such a crybaby as Mallow.
Oh, I get so mad. We've got to hurry. Sorry about that. Oh, that's so sweet. I like Mellow.
It's really sad that there are legal rights issues that prevent Mallow and Geno from being integrated into the larger Mario universe.
I know. So obnoxious.
Because how awesome would it have been if, like, Geno could have shown up at some point in Mario Galaxy among the stars?
I know. It would have made a lot of sense. Well, Mallow, too, would have made a lot of sense in that context. If I could just get that melody. That's Todovsky.
Yeah. Yeah, if Mallow would show up, like, when you get Cloud Mario, Mallow shows up to, like, teach you how to use it. I've always wanted Mallow in Smash Brothers. I think he'd be really awesome.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Kirby. Maybe he's supposed to.
That's just because he's cute and puffy.
B flat also has the added
This
four
one is the
and
saddest
dreams
wish,
on
by the way.
dreams. Sighing. Yeah, so we have all of the twinkling stars / dream tropes in one, right?
For sure. Oh, here's the sad piano.
It's my favorite.
The Chopin.
Yes. For those that didn't see last week, we compared this to Chopin Nocturnes.
Sure.
So good. But on like a slightly honky-tonk piano.
Right.
We keep using like descriptors of like spaghetti western. We keep bringing up slight western influence, even if it's not an overt western track.
A lot of it's in the dialogue too, and like that,
Yeah.
you know, like it's just the whole action of it sort of makes me lean spaghetti western.
Is this our first star piece? I've already lost track.
This is our 4th star piece, Dana.
Wow.
It's our first one tonight, so...
I've just... yeah, okay, we'll say it's that. I've just been not paying attention.
You do know that we've been playing this game for 2 weeks now, right?
Yeah.
This is actually the fastest and easiest star piece, because all the work to get up to it was essentially the booster stuff. Oh, wait, so while we're talking about that, hold on, I gotta look this up. Time out from the stream.
What, Shadow? Or we're talking about spaghetti westerns? Or Chopin?
Spaghetti Westerns and Shadow. If you guys have not heard this particular track, holy buckets.
So, Ryan, your streams are archived here, but they're also on YouTube, correct?
Yes. Once we finish a whole game, I put the game up on YouTube as one giant video now.
Oh.
Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger are not that way, but that's how I'm going to start doing it.
Okay. I was wondering. Alright, I'm gonna...
So I think you can access the past 4 weeks of streams on my Twitch account. Older than that, go to my YouTube.
Okay.
At here. There, it's in the chat now. RT Bardic, I'm pretty sure.
Neat.
I
Anyway.
love this Ennio Morricone. Like,
That Overclock
version
remix track I linked is totally
of
badass.
Shadow's theme.
Okay, now I have to pull this up.
Yeah,
Can we play it on the stream? Would that... Could
Yeah,
take
we
a
can do
second to
that quick. Hold on. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Let me...
I think Morricone is an interesting influence to consider overall here. I don't know how much Condor or the others were familiar with early film music, but seeing as how pervasive a lot of those tropes are, those are very influential composers generally.
Yeah, here it is on stream. That's not a sample, that is Joe Zija whistling.
Really?
Anyway, it goes on, but for the sake of getting on with Mario RPG, we'll cut it there. It's a killer
Neat.
track, though. Go listen to the whole thing.
It's a lot of fun.
Go listen to all of Joe Zija's stuff on the FF6 album. The Shadow track there was Andrew Aversa and his wife Jill as the vocalist. And then Joe on whistle, and a couple other people participated as well. But Joe Zija was new to OC Remix for that album, I think. And good God, he killed everything he did. He was like a klezmer, awesome version of the Phantom Train theme.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, good stuff all around from him.
And now we go back to Dreamland.
That's
Wish I
right.
could run faster. That's probably the one Yoshi.
Yep, I hope I become famous.
Ooh, who's that one?
I want to be a great plumber like my brother Mario.
That makes me sad. Actually, we have a... Oh, he's on the wall. We have a little 8-bit Luigi on the wall here.
There's the door. Star Hill is really fantastic.
Now where are we?
Seaside Town.
Oh, yes! This theme again. Speaking of like spaghetti western moments,
That's right.
it's almost like we planned it.
It is really related, actually, now that you play them like right back to back.
So yeah, we mentioned like, oh yeah, we talked about the Shadow in an earlier one, but it was because of this name.
Right. I don't know what to make of that, actually.
What, the similarity to Shadow?
Yeah.
You don't hear it, or?
No, I definitely hear it, but I don't know what to do with it. Like, is it coincidence?
Yes.
It's almost like the shifty character sitting in the saloon kind of thing. I don't think that it's any particular reference to FF6. I think it's just like shiftiness more generally that we're getting at. God, I love this theme. I really don't have much to say on it because I just...
There's a lot of times when something is just awesome, and I don't have anything to do with it as a scholar, and I desperately wish that I did, so I had like an excuse to just engage it more.
Like me and every Final Fantasy, or not Final Fantasy, every Mega Man game, which is why I was so excited to see that paper this year in Equigum. I was like, Mega Man! And then, you know, it started with the Mega Man 3, and I was like, it's my favorite Mega Man! I was so excited.
Yeah.
I'm that weirdo that likes 3 the best.
No, you're not weird. Everyone else is dumb.
I have a soft spot for 2. It was my thing.
As did a lot of folks. I played 3 and 4 the most, but musically I connected with 3 the most.
For me, the gameplay, I like 3 better. It's not just the slide, it's that you get to fight the Mega Man 2 bosses in 3.
And that mechanic.
And I think that's way cooler than, I mean, no offense to Dr. Cossack, or the pre-Fortress, other Fortress stages from 5 and 6, but...
You used Dr. Cossack in my Tetris article, though, briefly. I think he's a footnote. Doesn't he steal stuff from you if you stay for free? Isn't
I
this
don't
that
remember.
one?
Maybe he will. Yep.
I feel like he steals some money from you or something. But I didn't see how much money we had before, so I don't know.
We didn't have
Wait,
a
what
lot.
did we do with that wallet?
I still have it. I'm sorry. I'm still a jerk. Somebody tell me what to go do with it, and I'll go do it. Until then, I'm gonna try and...
Well,
move
Lenny was
onward
saying
now.
how if you sell it, you get more money if you sell it than if you return it.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It belongs to Toad!
Good lessons.
Oh,
Super Mario
yeah,
RPG.
okay. So you can give it to Toad in the Mushroom Kingdom. If you return it to Toad, you get a flower tab. And then later, when the player talks to the particular Toad whose wallet has been returned, the Toad gives Mario a frog coin. Alternately, the player has the option of selling the wallet for 123 coins at a shop. However, the Toad remains very mad at Mario for the rest of the game if he finds out. I like the description, though, that it's a fat wallet, specifically.
Hey, I got them all that time. That's what we needed.
Nice.
So game showy.
It is very game showy. It's such a short loop, too. Ooh, this is actually a tough choice. But we're gonna go with this. No, HP.
So earlier I commented this shows up in the first dungeon we're in, pretty much, and I was like, it's so early to introduce the organ, it's so doomy. But they do kind of
Super
redeem it by
doomy.
use it. Yeah, it's really doomy. It's like a final dungeon kind of doomy, but they redeem it by using it so frequently in dungeons
Yeah.
throughout. So like it does end up in late game dungeons because it's everywhere. Oh, we're about to go to a wonderful world of the sunken ship.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I can't get back up. Okay.
There's one of those takes you back up somewhere, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but I either want to go back up to the cave I was in or just go to the sunken ship.
Right.
And at this point, it's go to the sunken ship.
Didn't somebody last week or 2 weeks ago make a comment about the bonus music reminding us of Yoshi's Island? Or am
Yeah,
I
I
just
think so.
agreeing? Am I just agreeing so hard that I'm transcribing that on the past?
Maybe.
Either way, I agree.
Here we go.
Jumping underwater noise.
Yeah, bong.
All right, so this is a really classic musical trope we get here of this like kind of demented waltz, right?
Yeah.
Like this is very Nightmare Before Christmassy. Like this shows up so many places.
It
In
does.
film, TV, and video games.
This is a dumb party. We need to switch out here. That's acceptable for now. I know what the password is, but I don't remember if me knowing it is good enough. Does anybody remember?
I think if you know it, it's good enough. Actually, no. I think you can just know it.
I want to just know it.
I will it to be so.
It reminds me of something that comes up in my dissertation in one chapter.
Yeah, do tell.
Yeah, an identity issue. Me, the player, knows the answer. Mario, the avatar, does not know the answer. Right? And
There's some dissonance there.
you have to navigate the relationship between player and avatar.
And how is that similar or dissimilar to the idea of something being non-diegetic in a film?
Well, it gets really
Or like
dicey and
dramatic
really,
irony, right?
and really interesting
Right.
when that mixes with musical elements. Oh,
Yeah.
so I'll get back to that in a second. Earlier, I mentioned that the perspective in this game sucks. That is accurate.
This is a good example of
This
that.
is exactly what I was thinking of when you mentioned that.
Yes. Oh, it's so obnoxious. God, I hate this maze.
We're gonna do it too. You're just gonna hear this bouncing sound a ton.
Boing, boing, boing. Boing, 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 boing. Can't even hear the beautiful ghost ship theme. Do you hear that little Super Mario Bros. Ghost house? There.
Yeah, I do admit that I'm making that very difficult.
I know. When we finally get out of this maze, we will hear it in earnest again. Because it is a loop after all.
How did they make the ship creaking sound? Not that we can hear that either, but we can
I'm
kind
so
of
sorry.
Without opening up the SPC file, that's a difficult question to answer. So let me see what I can do.
Yay.
Oh my god.
Alright, I'll pause here so we can listen to this. That's annoying. Yeah, I
So-
really like the idea of a waltz for ghosts. And I don't know if I get that from other video games. I know like Castlevania does that all the time. Or if there's a more like in canon musical reference that I am missing right now.
I mean,
Does that come from like Dance of Death genres?
Yes. I
like
would say
tone
there's
poems,
like
like lists.
a Gents Macabre kind of thing going on here.
Yeah.
But more generally, like just to make like a of the body gestural analysis, like has anyone ever done waltz before here on the street?
Not for real.
Right.
Because there's a whole, I mean, you kind of spring off step one. There's supposed to be a feeling of weightlessness, and if you watch professional waltzers, they feel like they're kind of floating and gliding on the floor, and the goal is to make you look almost like you're skating, in a sense, in the step. And so I feel like there's kind of a weightlessness implied to the ideal waltz dance that carries very nicely into the idea of a floating, weightless ghost.
Huh.
Or an underwater level in like the original.
Yeah, this is based on
Mars.
nothing. This is based on nobody. I'm if somebody else has theorized it, I'd love to hear about it. But that's just me going on like the 2 waltz classes I've taken.
Oh.
Because the swing dancers, we used to just like take a salsa class and take a waltz class, like go to other things to support the other clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go to the ballroom club and do all of that. But yeah, there's a lightness to it. And certainly a lot of other dances incorporate lilt and incorporate lift. But like swing, for example, Lindy Hop in particular is a very like into the ground kind of dance. Like you feel connected to the in the step. Everything about it. And in order to do a full Lindy Hop swing out where you actually kind of get whipped around your partner, you have to be grounded or you fly. In the wrong way, not in the full swing flip kind of way. You just like get thrown into the next person. So you have to be grounded and you have to be very connected to your partner.
Oh, come on.
I made a comment about doing like a little bit of Lindy Hoppin' in college and at NACFGM when we were doing like the board meeting, and Steve just like rolled his eyes at me. He's like, "What don't you do?" I'm like, "Well,
I think that's a legitimate comment at this point, Dana.
I think I exhaust Steve just generally as a person.
Yes, a freebie. I needed that. All right. There is usually a clear winner, by the way, in these leveling bonuses, which is why I always look at all 3 very quickly.
Yeah. I love the little snare drum roll
Yeah.
as a framing device. You know, I was thinking, I was going through some old files and like some presentation I've given where I used a lot of stuff from Mario 2, and I was thinking about the way that, you know, the games often use like staging and curtains, and there's
Weird,
kind of
you
these
can't run
internal
away from
frame
this.
devices.
That's okay.
We are underwater and in a doomy place.
I would say this is a rare example where both come together. So the question was about looking at the confluence between the Doobie waltz and the underwater waltz concept, or topos. What are we gonna call it? Topic theory.
Just
I don't know. But there's a piece of me that goes, well, other than saying that yes, there is waltz in both locations, what else is there that is productive to say?
You don't need other productive things. That's enough.
Is it?
You need to look into the why of is a waltz used.
But we can't. I mean, isn't that trying to inscribe intention? Like, or assume it from context?
Maybe.
And ultimately, it's a question of what does it do for us?
I think the question of why a waltz is valid.
Well, I think there's some valid theories and interpretations already out there. I mean, as mentioned, Andrew Sharpman talks about waltzes in his 33 1/3 book on Mario, and I just presented a really half-baked thought for the movement.
But I think that's really the core of it, is the sense of weightlessness, the sense of embodied, a way that music has always been embodied, because it's dance music that sort of just gets transmitted, whether we know it or not, into our conception of music and multimedia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's just sort of like, okay, we just said that so in 30 seconds, so it's the question of what else for the paper. I'm constantly trying to interrogate my own work with is there enough here? Is this useful? Is it productive? Where else does it go from here? And I was very nervous about my NACVGM paper in the sense that I had never done that, this is brand new research thing. I did every good little grad student does and presented. I already gave a 40-page, as we discussed, 40-page seminar paper on this, and now I'm going to present it having already done all the legwork. And this was the first time that I went, do I have enough to present it, knowing that I don't necessarily have all the answers or the places I need to go yet?
Mm-hmm. That's all my papers. They're all I don't know, this is interesting. Someone else write about it, though.
And I wanted to challenge myself to do that because I felt like that's a really cool thing to know when you have enough to throw it out to your colleagues in help me figure out where I want to go next with this. This is preliminary, and that's the point. I did hopefully enough legwork that I've got something, a kernel. But I'll come back to it, and then where do I want to go next?
And those are my favorite papers too. They're the kind of preliminary, here's an idea. Obviously, you do want to have enough, but I like having conversations with people, about some dumb thing I thought of, and then they actually have something really cool to say, and I don't feel but I did so much work already. Because usually I just don't do any work. I'm revealing too much here.
You're pulling back the curtain, as it were. But
for a conference paper, you can occasionally get away with that, though. It's okay to say, "Here's what I've got," as long as you have enough, right? And say, "What does everybody think about this?"
That's what I was nervous about. It's how do you know that you have enough? Do I actually have enough? That was something that I wasn't super familiar with. But I think my advisor has talked a lot about that process of the dissertation, of course, is this exercise in discipline, right? But it's also about learning to transition from being a student who is told how things are to being a scholar that pursues your own questions. And it's a grown-up process. And I think with conference papers too, there's a bit of a security blanket to I've already done all this work, and I've sat there and I've already gone, what are some of the questions that I might be asked? Let me prepare answers to them in advance. This was one where I walked in and I went, I don't know what people are going to ask. And so many people started talking about authenticity. And I was like, God damn it, that was the one thing I didn't want to talk about.
Authenticity.
Ah! So, yeah. That was a scary moment. So I was just like, oh man, I didn't think of all the things this would be the thing we latch onto. But, you know, I watched the YouTube of my talk, and I was like, I don't hate this. So, even watching through the Q&A, I was like, this is not as uncomfortable as I thought it was going to be. So that must mean that it was like okay.
I would never think of that as like comparatively low researched relative to your other stuff.
Well,
Like,
that's good to hear. At least if I maintain
I always think of your presentations particularly as like very, I can't find the word for it. It's like well researched, but also you sort of cover a lot of like threads, and you bring in a lot of really interesting kind of, not extra material, but like they're like really well rounded, and so I always see them as kind of really, you know, very broadly interesting, no matter, even if I weren't interested in video game music, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's the process of like constantly, first of all, having advisors and a lot of people that read my work that are giving me a lot of that so what kind of thing that I'm always wanting to add other threads, but it's also just the identity politics scholar in me that comes from that disability angle of like, I always like to start from a musical argument. That's one place that like I've disagreed with other folks, like Will. One of the reasons Will and I work really well together and we'll send each other our work to read it is like we have very different approaches, but we really like what the other one does.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of jokes about like, you do this because I don't want to. Like, how about you go do this paper? But
Nice.
you know, Will's like, I could go an entire paper and not play a musical example. Like, he's comfortable with that. I'm like, I use it almost as like as a crutch. I'm like, if I don't talk about the music, am I a musicologist? Like,
Me
I just said
too.
the crisis. Oh my god.
Part of me is I like to keep an audience entertained. And even though everyone is there to learn and like be smart, I think of all of you as an audience and me as a performer when I speak.
That's how we all should think of it.
But that means
Yeah.
that I want to perform in some sense, like show music, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even if the only purpose for that is to make the presentation exciting and engaging, like I would find a way to have multimedia as long as I'm talking
Yeah.
about games.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not always clear like what the musical argument is, but like certainly the Robin Hood paper, it was like, hey, the Triangle Channel does cool things. That was the whole paper.
But that's cool. I don't know. I don't need a so what for that.
Yeah, well, and that's where I was like, oh, also all these these other like interesting related issues, who knows? But that's also like a lot of my game stuff is starting, or the just stuff is starting from like, here's a disability thing, here's a representation of said disability in sound, and then, you know, the so what ends up being a lot of the disability theory and the discourses surrounding that. But the game examples are a lot of just like, this is a game that was popular, it's very accessible, you know, it's very influential, it serves as a good sort of general example of this thing that is very widespread. So I have a file with my advisor called Save It for the Book.
Nice.
It's all the times that I've been tempted to go off scope. And like, you know, there certainly have been a lot of games that when people are like, oh, disability, you know, are you going to talk about like Binding of Isaac or, you know, something like that? And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's in the Save It for the Book thing. So there are games that kind of go past that.
Yeah.
Binding of Isaac is freaky to me.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be. More on that when I write the book.
It's one of the few games that I absolutely will not let Owen see.
Like, I think that would have terrified the shit out of me as a child.
That's part of it. Like, I would rather him see me, like, sneak in some of, like, the new Tomb Raider game, even though it's much more violent. Like, and I've done that actually. I didn't think he was looking, and then I like shot 2 people in the head, and he was like, "Hey, did they just die?" And I was like, "Yes, they did. They were bad. I got them."
At least as long as you can put it in those kind of moral black and white terms, right? You have to be developmentally appropriate here. Yeah, the game... Here's a good question. For the chat and for everyone here, what's a game that you... Or maybe expand this to a piece of media that you saw or played or interacted with too young, and it really got to you as a result?
Oh man, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
So I'll lead off since I started with this. In terms of video games, it was Super Metroid, because my brother is 5 years older than me, and so he brought home all the games, and I had just nightmares. And what freaked me out about it, and I actually write about this in that Silence paper that I gave a few years ago, the freaky thing for me is when she first lands on the planet and there's nobody there, and you're like, there have to be aliens. Where are the aliens? Where is everybody? That's the part that freaks me out more than anything else. The idea that, like, she is alone, and that really the use of the silence in that soundtrack was brilliant. Really highlighted how alone she is on that planet and what she's facing. And that we don't even know what she's facing. So nothing is hearing it. So that's my video game. In terms of film, for me, it was the ending to Amadeus. I saw it very, very young, where, you know, they bury him in the mass grave, and that gave me nightmares for years. I was like, to this day, I can't really watch the end of Amadeus. Really gets it. There's something about even the film filter was very kind of bluish and haunting, and that really terrified me.
Yeah. They showed us that in elementary school.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
we saw it in elementary school, and I remember being really freaked out. But I don't think they showed us that scene. I don't remember it at that age.
I would have been about the age. I don't know if it was in elementary school music class that I saw that. It may have been at home, but I was about that age either way.
Yeah, it was definitely. That didn't freak me out, though. I do remember seeing a couple Stephen King movies way too young.
A couple what movies?
Stephen King.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I saw it when I was little.
Yeah, it came along with it, but I saw Pet Sematary, and I just remember that one freaking me out, and yeah.
It's a good one.
The one that did it for me is a video game. Did you guys ever play? They're mostly text-based adventures, but Shadowgate and Uninvited and Deja Vu.
Oh, Deja Vu. Yes.
Anyway, I had all of those for NES, and I should not have as a kid.
Oh my god.
Uninvited is especially freaky.
I wrote a paper in grad school on Deja Vu, Ryan. You're like really taking me back. Oh my god, those games. That's such a good soundtrack, though. It's, that noir feel to it is really apt, but it is dark.
Yeah, they're super dark, and later on it happens in Deja Vu as well. But very early on in Shadowgate, and especially Uninvited, you can die for, like, a completely arbitrary, stupid reason.
Deja Vu in particular, it's almost like if you don't have a walkthrough, you're going to experience that several times, and they're usually, like, very grisly deaths, too, and they're described.
That's right, yeah, and it's worse, I think, to read the graphic description of how you die in those games than anything the NES can output.
Wow! Kate's is going to a grade 4 birthday party where they saw Pretty Woman.
That's awkward.
That's intense. Like, I remember...
Are they even old enough to understand all of the activity that takes place in that movie at that point?
I don't know.
I mean, I kind of hope not, right? Like
I remember a 4th grade birthday party where we all went to see the Babysitters Club movie.
Yeah.
And then we went to the local ice cream parlor, and it was like 10 o'clock at night. Exciting.
So cute.
It was like a school night too. It was
Yeah,
really...
wow.
So, but that movie was not above my level at that age. So
I went to a sleepover and we got to watch Silence of the Lambs.
oh God.
And it had just come
Wow,
out.
that's
So
a thing.
I was on the younger end. That was a thing where, I shouldn't have been watching it, and B, it's really freaky to have watched that movie at a sleepover.
Yeah.
The
I
room
guess
of young girls, and we're all kind of like, the hell is this?
on the plus side, at least you were with some friends. I think like
Sure.
that's a movie to not watch alone.
I think there was a lot of averting my eyes because I don't remember really understanding it at that age. It's like I appreciated it much more later on when I could watch it again. But there were a couple of moments in there where I was just like,
Yeah, that's a good one. That gets cited a lot of times as an example of the Mandela effect, where people have false memories of something collectively.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are film lines where people have misquoted them. So, you know, it's not Luke, I am your father. He says, no, I am your father, you know. And he never actually, in Silence of the Lambs, says, hello, Clarice, apparently.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but, you know, that's like our classic line. I was looking up examples of this recently. The most interesting one to me is the Berenstain Bears issue.
Yes,
Really
absolutely. That's the most
And
prescient one.
People remember it spelled like Stein instead of Stain.
Well, yeah.
Like
I have to
Berenstain
say,
Bears.
I grew up with no Jewish people, so I remember it Stain.
Yeah.
Stain.
Yeah.
So, but like the one where Sinbad stars in a film called Shazam
Yeah.
as being, everyone remembers this. I remember this, but it never happened.
No, it was Kazam and it wasn't
Shazam,
Sinbad.
it wasn't Sinbad, but like the fact that everyone remembers Shazam and Sinbad is like my favorite thing ever. Yeah, wasn't that Shaq? Oh man.
Who was actually in the real one? Kazam. Shaquille O'Neal. Yes, Shaq. You did say Shaq, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Oh, I hate mirror puzzles like this. Like, hey Mario, you have to jump on his head.
How is this stupid dungeon not done? My battery's gonna die because I'm
It's
in a
almost
place.
done, and then we're gonna be done for the night. I need to remind myself of how to get the thing.
You have to jump on his head, I think.
Yes, I know, but I don't remember how to.
I don't either. Luck.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, then I have to walk backwards. Okay.
But yeah, the Berenstain Bears versus Berenstein. That one threw me, but because we read those books, I don't know. But I think part of it comes from a lot of kids reading those books when they're not really reading yet with their parents. So maybe the spelling isn't solidified as much as a pronunciation.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think at least that's my theory for myself, because I'm one of those that was like, oh really? Like I didn't insist that we were living in this is proof of like alternate realities or something, or you know, we're in the darkest timeline now, to use Community reference.
Right.
Which
right.
I did at the opportunity, because I love Community. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, you know, I didn't remember it that way, and I was sort of surprised when it was the other way.
Thanks for everybody's patience there. I probably didn't actually need to do that, but it feels good.
Karo colas are the best, and they allow us to talk about, you know, Japanese onomatopoeia for frog noises.
Yeah, but it's also like ego stroking and like just sheer annoyance as a player. Why can't I do this? Raw.
This is why I haven't started my Assassin's Creed streams yet, because I'm still practicing. There's only so much sucking people will tolerate on a Twitch stream.
It's true.
But I will say, like, I have been doing extra research only because my area of interest / pseudo specialization in Egyptology
Speaking
is
of
Middle
only so
Kingdom.
much sucking people will tolerate, this guy's gonna get wasted.
This is really cool sounding.
After jump 13, there's a 3-frame window to keep it going.
This is so fascinating. This requires a little more eagle rare. Hello. Show the camera.
Yes, keep jumping forever until he dies. With the super jump, it is possible to do 100 jumps. But look, he's...
That is so cool.
What?
I forgot what we were talking about because I was so mesmerized
I'm
by that.
sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. That was cool. Oh, the sucking. Yeah, so I've been researching later like Ptolemaic era history for Egypt because that's never been a thing for me. Like I was never a big Cleopatra kid. So I'm reading more about the Ptolemies and the political history at the time and the Roman influence, and so I will hopefully have interesting things to say. But the nice thing is, like, most of my pseudo-Egyptologist interests are Middle Kingdom, and a lot of I can get away with a lot of that because if you're in a temple, those are built so much earlier anyway. And like looking, if I'm like, oh, look at that hieroglyph. I can nerd out about that stuff, and it's kind of in Egypt. I don't have to be in a certain era for that to land. Hopefully, we'll see. Maybe it'll be a little boring, but I'll have fun. That's the important thing. There have been a few friends who do these weekly Friday night dinner gaming nights here, and there are folks who I'd come and like be the person with you on the stream because you need that. Like Game Grumps and others have shown us that it's really helpful to have other people talking in case you
For
get
sure,
really
it's much better to have more than one person around.
Yeah. At the very least, they can fill the dead air when you're like really concentrating on something.
That's right, yeah.
So yeah, I kind of feel like I'll listen to you talk about Egypt and ask them questions, or maybe really cool questions. Who knows? So that shortly. Still, there's just so many buttons in these modern games, you know.
There are too
I
many
can
buttons.
remember so many different ways of, like, even in Breath of the Wild, which has done a great deal for getting me used to 3D spaces. There's still, like, a lot of things that I do very poorly. Like, I never remember to dodge in battles. Even against Guardians, I'm just like, oh, whoops.
Oh, in Guardians, you just gotta man up, though. You don't want to dodge. You want to get, like, your shield. Here, Penji, you will you're now my shield.
Okay, but even
And you
like,
go,
perfect parries,
Wham!
dodges, like any of that.
I was
Okay.
so freakishly proud of Owen the first time he got a perfect parry off against Ganon.
Aww.
Did you like record it? And put
I
it in
wish
the
that I
family
had
group?
recorded it. He was so pumped. And then he did
That's
it another
awesome.
5 times in a row and won.
So he's beaten the game before me. Still haven't beaten that damn game.
It's
mostly
a
time
large
game.
game.
It is a huge
Beating
game.
games is not the be all end all.
I know,
Well,
and
it
I'm
is,
in a
but-
position that's too.
Me and Owen
my
are working on the
current
DLC now. We're not done with that
Me
yet.
too. I'm very slowly
Ugh,
working on it.
I'm not even. To
It's
the
hard.
DLC.
It is hard.
My current project is I'm trying to upgrade all of the armor, and that You gotta collect.
That takes forever.
We
Yeah.
have not done that.
That's what I'm
And
working
I
on.
refuse to like look at guides or anything, so I just like hope that whatever I've collected is good enough for that lady, that fairy lady.
I have a spreadsheet. This is so nerdy. I have a spreadsheet for Breath of the Wild. It started with just I wanted a list of all the temples in each region. I didn't look up what they were or how to solve them or anything. I just looked up, what each temple was called, and then I knew like, okay, I have in Akala, I have 8 of them or whatever, and then I could just check them as I did them.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to just know when I got to that point where I know there's some that are hidden.
Right.
I did do like shrine quests and reveal them. I wanted to know like where it was at least, even though some of the shrine quests don't start in the region that
The last 4
I guess.
shrines, I ended up looking up the locations of.
yeah.
And I was
So
fine
I
with
did
that.
finish all the shrines. Cheers, but then I expanded this original. It's actually a Word document where I turned on developer tools so I could have checkboxes that worked because I like Word and I'm nerdy about that. But I added side quests, which I didn't look up what they were. I just added them as I did them, just to kind of keep track. And then I got to the armor, and so I did look up just like what I needed to upgrade each of them. But then from there I have to figure out where to find everything.
Right. I ended up looking up what each upgraded armor set did to see if it was worth it.
No, I'm doing all of it. I'm a completionist.
Yeah. Hey, Ryan, how many minutes of time do you think? Because my battery's about to die, but I can get my charger.
Oh, you're looking at about 10 minutes at this point. This is the end of the dungeon, basically. It's this and a boss fight.
All right, I'll need my charger. BRB.
Sorry. If there's another save point before the boss and people want to be done, we can be done.
I feel like we may as well finish it out. This isn't too much more on this, and this is one of the more involved dungeons of the game.
For the boss, I might just slow-mo super jump him again to just force it to be done.
That's fine. I don't think anyone in here is like, why are you cheating?
No, not at all.
It's not cheating, I'm augmenting my own skill. It's like a move Mario can do, right?
That is spoken like an academic right there.
I am using my skill.
I think I have to own some white maleness there. Like,
God. That's going on Twitter.
that's right, not cheating, augmenting my own skill.
Things we learned on the Twitch stream tonight.
Oh, there's 5 of them now. You know what, that's fine.
You know what? Heck, I'm gonna hashtag Ludomusicology on that so they all see it.
Great, thank you. Fantastic.
Yeah. the text of the tweet is things we learned on this. I'm not cheating. I'm augmenting my skill. I sure did it too. Who disagrees with that though? Like, who doesn't like save scum? Sometimes I just like to
That's essentially all it is, right?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Are you talking about like ancient cores and stuff?
Oh no, just general cheating. Like,
I
can't
do
just
not
restart the
cheat.
game because, well, okay, if I'm just like playing a game first time for myself, yeah, I don't do that. But if I'm like, I need to go back and get footage of something, and I don't want to just pull it off.
Oh yeah, that doesn't count. That's not
Right,
play.
right.
That's academicizing.
So, okay, so how about me slowing it down to get the super jumps on the stream, Julianne?
This is academic. This is public musicology.
I vote that slowing it down makes us reconsider the music and it looks really cool, so why not do it once or twice?
You know,
that's
we
my
did
new
all
argument.
we did all stop dead in our tracks and listen to it, so you're not wrong. Oh, that's wonderful that the Ludomusicology hashtag is how we were found.
Nice. Wait, do we know who Spoony Bard is in real life?
I have no idea. Hi, Spoony Bard. You should hit us all up so we can
Yeah.
to all the peeps. Is this the 90s? I just used the Well, hello to all of you who found us via the Ludomusicology hashtag. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So
Wonderful
this
that we're on
is
there.
star number
Hit us-
5 now. We're doing
Ooh.
pretty well here.
Yeah, like, hit us up at Nakvagum.
Oh,
hit us
I
up
missed.
I am involved heavily with Ludo, being as how I just got elected co-chair. So come to our session whenever it gets scheduled. That'll be like May. That's dependent more on Bob Judd than on us, but we'll let you know when it is. We will publicize it heavily. It will be so fun. And all the best people are in Ludo, so.
I agree.
And every other group, but yeah.
Study groups in general are the place to be. That's how you, like, find your home. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Boss theme. Slowed down.
Oh, this is so cool.
I'm gonna concentrate really hard, so you guys have to fill the space.
Well, do we want to, though? Because the sound is so good.
Listen to this tuba shit. Sorry.
That was actually less than it could have been. Mario's next turn will roll again.
Oh my god.
Okay,
is
real
there
talk though. In real time, that was 4 perfect blocks in a row. Where is Doug?
Not here.
He's
course.
like probably still
We
streaming.
are archive the stream, so
Why
you're
is he
fine.
practicing, jerk?
Because he's, like, a good percussionist. Does anybody know if there's a heart eyes emoji in Twitch? This
I
is
don't know.
important. I'm just
All right.
gonna write love instead of heart eyes emoji.
One more
but
time,
cool.
we're gonna go again.
It's like a fart. Oh, I love slowed down Mario jump sound.
Boop, 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 boop. It sounds a little bit like finding a treasure in Legend of Zelda or something.
Originally, I thought it was somebody's phone, and then I was like, oh wait, this looks slow.
It does sound a little bit like a ringtone at this speed.
Yeah, an old ringtone.
It does.
Yeah, or an old person's ringtone.
Well, you know, I just used the phrase peeps, so apparently we're back in the 90s, so, you know.
Tokyo.
That makes you an old person, right? If we're in the 90s again, like.
Never, not in the 90s.
Where's Joe to make a comment about how he was born in 1991?
Oh God,
What
no.
I-
Ew.
The next time I see Joe, he is not to bring that up.
He's not to bring that up. He brings that up with me all the time.
So
No,
as I'm
but-
doing this over and over, if you can do 100 jumps off of this, you get a special prize once you get to Monstro Town.
This guy specifically, or just in general?
Ever 100 jumps.
Yeah, okay.
And I've already done it.
Off stream, yeah.
Off stream, yeah. So we'll just get the prize when we get there, because I didn't
Yeah.
know if it'd be worth it to go
It's a-
100 times in a
it's a
row.
sick
It's a lot of
Yeah.
jumps, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, as I've often commented, you know, Joe's only 5 years younger than me, but it makes a difference. And the big one for me, most of the time I'm like, I really don't feel it, but it's when he talks about being in like kindergarten, I think, or no, when was it? He was in elementary school when September 11th happened. I was just like, whoa, hello.
Yeah.
Big. That's the only time I ever feel old. Most of the time, like even when my students make references and I'm like, oh, I'm not with it anymore. Not that I ever was.
Yeah, I was a junior in high school. Wait, holy crap.
Yeah, I was a freshman, so I was sitting in study hall. Yeah, so that's weird. When you put it in like grade terms, age differences are really creepy. But you know, once you're all out of college, it's not quite so weird.
So this jump sequence is going much better than the last one, in case we can't tell.
But yeah, most of the time my students make I'll make a reference, my students don't get it or whatever, and instead of going, oh, I feel so old, I go, you're young and you don't know it. You don't know the good references, so like you need to learn, not me. You don't know Wayne's World. You don't know Spinal Tap. What's wrong with you?
Asked my undergrads this morning how many of them had ever watched Frasier.
Oh my god.
He just died, and like 3 of them were like, oh yeah, and the rest of them were like blank stare. I was like,
Didn't even know.
Back up. Who just died?
What's happening?
You said somebody just died.
John Mahoney.
Yeah, John Mahoney from Frasier, the Frasier's
Yeah.
dad.
Yes.
He died
I
on
love
Sunday.
him. That's really sad.
Yeah,
he was the best part of that show.
Well, he was in so many other fundamental 80s to 90s things, movie-wise, but it was obviously Frasier that he was known the most for, and I adored him in everything that he did. So I saw that, and I was like, oh god, that's terrible.
Frasier was on for what, like 11 seasons or something?
Yeah,
yeah.
it's humongous.
Yeah.
Humongous. Like, as long or longer than MASH, which that's always my benchmark of like, wow, that shit was on forever.
That's why Kelsey Grammer has the hands down award for the person who has now played a sitcom character for the longest period of time ever.
Right.
At something like 21 years. That he was back, that he was...
Oh, because of Cheers adds on to that, right?
That's right.
Yes. Between Cheers and Frasier, he was that character for 20 years.
Hey, here's the jump in real time, guys.
Yeah.
Because at the very least, like, Alan Alda matches seasons of Frasier. Because, what, there are 11 seasons, right? Am I making that up? There's 11 seasons of MASH. I don't think I'm crazy. What's the movie? But, yeah, then there's all of the Cheers episodes that get added on to Frasier.
Yeah.
MASH is one of the only series I own all of on DVD.
Yeah, it's good.
Love it. I actually did the other day. I have a kid working on the Mozart beer duets, you know, where like one person reads this way, the other it's on a table, the other person reads that way, and it's perfect canon. And she pulled it out to like work on it, and I went, Mozart. And I was like, no one knows. First of all, that's a MASH reference from like Charles.
Yeah.
Like, no one knows this except me. Like, this is one of my I'm just like, okay, and I don't expect anyone to know it. But I had a
As long as it brings you joy, that's all that matters.
You know, that's the theme of my life. So, as long as it brings me joy.
I was trying to make some sort of deep and pithy connection to the fact that John Mahoney died at 77, and we were doing Haydn this morning, and Haydn died when he was 77. And it just fell apart after that because nobody knew who he was.
Right.
But then we went on to Mozart, and it was okay.
Mozart.
It was great.
I love that fact that all these classical music stations around the country, after the MASH finale aired, everyone was like, what was that Mozart piece?
That's cool.
And I won't give anything away because, man, this is one show I will never spoil for anybody. It is worth watching because when you get to that finale, very few pieces of media have made... That's another good question. What pieces of media have made you cry?
Oh, Oh
Ooh,
man.
that's an excellent question.
Because
There's too
for
many
me,
of
that list is very small, and so I'm able to pretty much recall everything that's done it. I'm not a big, like,
I can
remember-
recall some things after I finish jumping.
yeah.
The number
my
one thing that comes to mind for
though,
me
like,
is the Amber
Proud.
Spyglass by Philip Pullman at the end of it.
That's a good one. Yeah, my ex-mother-in-law would cry. You know those Coke commercials where the polar bear and the penguin like give each other a Coke?
Yeah.
She would cry at those.
My mother-in-law is just like that, too.
That was the low benchmark, and I was always like, wow, I'm like a cold-hearted bitch. I never cry at anything. I really thought there's like something wrong with me, because like I would be able to watch it and go, even like Schindler's List, I would watch that and go, wow, this is really sad, but I don't cry.
Yeah.
So for a long time I thought like there's something wrong with me, like things that other people claim are making them cry aren't making me cry.
So
but
what's
I'm
the
not-
list, Dana?
I cried it up. Okay.
Oh, the first 20 minutes, right?
No, actually. No, because I knew that he was a widower, so like the whole story of how he gets there didn't make me cry. It's when he opens the adventure book and she's filled it out. That's when I cried. I was bawling. So that's a big moment. If anyone remembers the Adrian Brody, the pianist film, where he's like the World War II pianist, I think he's like hiding out. There's a scene where he's hiding out in an abandoned ghetto, and there's a piano in one of the houses. And he had been a successful like radio pianist before the war, and he just kind of like gives in and indulges himself, and he sits down and plays something, and a German soldier walks in, and he's thinking like, shit, I'm gonna get killed. And then the German soldier is an appreciator of music, and he tells him to keep playing, and oh my god, that moment, tears. The ending
Why
of
can I
MASH.
not block that? My gosh.
So that's where the conversation started. The ending of MASH. I won't say which moment, but definitely a moment in the finale of MASH. Because I refuse to spoil that for anybody.
I love that
Those
you're avoiding spoilers for a show that ended decades ago.
I know, it's fantastic.
I won't spoil it because I think everybody needs to see it.
Thank
One
you.
of those, like, you just need to have seen it. It's so beautiful.
It's not one of our bingo slots where it's like the unnecessary spoiler alert.
I made up.
Yeah.
Because I do it all the time. I made that joke in a paper I was giving like on Mario 2. Well,
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it's all a dream, and everyone laughed because they're like, haha, the game's so old. I was like, unnecessary spoiler, but I do it anyway.
There, we got him
I don't
finally.
even
Sorry about
think
those
I
last
knew
couple
that.
loads.
Unlike the year I was at Music in the Moving Image, and somebody was giving a paper on what was then the brand new season of Sherlock.
Yes, I
And-
walked out of that room.
Yes, they said like I'm going to be talking about this most recent series. It had only been released like in the U.S. a couple of weeks before, and so a lot of people hadn't watched all of it yet. And so they were like, if you haven't seen it, you are going to get everything spoiled. And so a bunch of people left. And he was like, whoever the paper was like, I won't take offense if you leave right now. And they all walked out of
Yeah,
the room.
I totally walked
Amazing.
out.
Yeah.
I had seen it, so I was like, one of the cool ones is like, I already watched all this.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was really cool. There was also, I went to a paper that same year that was on Breaking Bad, and I hadn't watched any of it yet. I just recently finished Breaking Bad. Joe and I did. And I remembered the paper because the point they were making, the culmination of the musical idea happens in the penultimate episode.
Right.
And so when we got there, I like listened really carefully for it. I was like, there it is. It was kind of a nice payoff.
Usually I don't mind spoiling things. Like I had not seen Breaking Bad, but I went to the Breaking Bad paper. I had not seen The Man in the High Castle except for the
generally,
first episode of
In
it.
retrospect, it wasn't that
Oh,
bad.
Such a good show.
And I really enjoyed Rebecca Fulop's paper on The Man in the High Castle,
Mhm.
Oh,
which I
would've loved
attended.
that.
And,
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. There's just an instant way out. That is ideal. Then we can save and be done. I will not... The Sherlock thing, I had to walk out, though. No.
Yeah. But Ryan, what's your list of things that have made you cry?
Ooh, I always remember the Amber... Oh, wait, do I have a fight right now?
You notice that he's Russian.
You're the bitch.
You're rid of it.
I don't want to fight anymore. The list of things that have made me cry. I always say the Amber Spyglass is number one. Up, definitely some tears.
Yeah. I was sitting here thinking that the beginning montage of Up, totally.
Yeah, I'm that weirdo that didn't that didn't cry at the beginning montage, but later the movie did get me. Just later.
I didn't cry either, but I felt it, but I also was like, okay. It was too Pixar-y. I don't know. But, yeah. I am also kind of weird. I don't cry at that many things. I cry at, like, weird commercials, too, but...
Yeah.
So you're saying it's, like, totally random for you?
Yes, no, it's like, sometimes there's, like, a totally, like, stupid... Maybe even like an infomercial, like something dumb, and I'm like, this is just the moment. Then like the Lion King, I'm like, okay, whatever.
The Toy Story 3 thing reminds me, again, this is an ex-mother-in-law story, but we were watching that with my ex-laws, shall we call them. I've never determined, what do you call them, outlaws or ex-laws?
Ah!
I feel like outlaws is kind of mean.
I've never really landed on one or the other, so ex-laws is kind of what I go with as a default. But we were watching with like grandma was over, and we started Toy Story 3, and you know the first 5 minutes of that are really sad. And the ex-mother-in-law, she's like sobbing, and grandma just turns to her and goes, "Jesus, Terry, pull it together."
That's hilarious.
Just like losing it.
The other thing that really got to me is I do not generally identify as disabled anymore, though I had a like special ed Asperger's diagnosis as a kid. And today, like, only Addie is basically around me enough to where it manifests itself, and like I do dumb things, I'm not organized, etc. But To the Moon, holy buckets.
Oh my god, Brian. Like,
To the Moon, like, slaughtered me. I have not played That Dragon Cancer, and I imagine that would also be pretty damn brutal on my emotions as a dad.
You have small children, don't do it.
That's right, I have young kids, so I haven't done it.
Yeah, so as we add to this list, That Dragon Cancer, I had to stop the stream. I had to stop playing for 6 months and just like I hit a point where I started crying so hard. I was like, I can't play this game. And then 6 months later, I came back to it and I finished it. But it's brutal and it's beautiful and it is absolutely a work of art. But it is, I wouldn't. I don't think I could do it if I had kids.
Hey, do we want to finish this boss, or do you want to start with that boss next time? Because there's a save point here.
Start next time.
Yeah, sounds good.
But has anybody ever watched the movie Mary and Max?
The what?
Mary and Max?
No.
Oh man.
Is that one yours?
That was one at the end. Oh my goodness. And at various points throughout, but it's one of these claymation kind of Wallace and Gromit type movies. But it's, I mean, it would be interesting to people who are interested in disability studies, because you have a girl who's like abused and has some personality issues, who becomes long distance pen pals with this overweight agoraphobic man who never leaves his apartment.
Oh wow.
The two of them end up pen pals basically like her entire childhood and adult life. And then they finally meet. So,
oh wow.
I won't say anything more than that, but it's an incredible movie. But talk about hitting you in every feel of all the feels. It is just. It's got a dark to it, but it is really worth a watch sometime.
I will look that up. I will say, like, there's a distinction here between the work itself made me cry because it like set me up to have this response to it, and there's things that sometimes just catch you at the right point in your life that you cry. For me, like, the divorce was a really big moment for that. So like things that I probably would have just thought were like good songs before, I can't listen to Make You Better by the Decemberists without thinking about like crying alone in my car to it, because like it became this like anthem for divorce in a way that like there's nothing in the song that cues it to, like there's a bit of a lost loveness to it, but it was like, you know, my ex-husband like introduced me to the Decemberists in college when we first started dating, and like there was something about that sense of like losing something from when we were younger and life was more innocent. Like there was a whole side of that song that like I never would have connected to had I not been in that situation at the time that that album came out.
Mhm.
And that and Biophilia by Björk came out that same year, and that album is about her divorce. And so I'm like, oh, those two things together are like the soundtrack to that. But in any other circumstance, I probably wouldn't have cried to them. I would have thought like, oh, these are really cool and interesting. So there's a just very big distinction for me between like I cried at The Pianist and I cried at Up, and you know I cried at the MASH finale, because those were so unprompted. That's really rare for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, this game has never made me cry. So no, not so much.
I gotta say,
I have some examples. Maybe we'll pick up with that next time.
Yeah, pick up there next time. I gotta go to bed. All right, folks.
Yes.
All right. It's y'all next. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Bye, folks.
Yeah.
Bye.